Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. How are you guys? How's life? I hope you are in a good condition. Well, we are from first group, so we're gonna discuss about formulation of research problem. Before it, let us to introduce ourselves. First, my name is Hikma Azizah. I will explain about research problem. The research problem differ from other parts of research and can and should problems be researched. And the second speaker, she is Farra Amartya. She will explain about the research problem, different quantitative and qualitative research, and how do you write a statement of the problem section. And the last speaker is Ummu Chariska will explain about the strategies for writing the statement of the problem section and the last conclusion. Okay, before any further ado, let's begin our presentation today by reciting Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The first topic is about research problem. Research problems are the educational issues, controversies, or concerns that guide the need for conducting a study. It means, from this understanding, it is explained that research or research problem discuss more about the topic of education, a controversial issue, and conduct research from something new and interesting to discuss. For example, educational issues. We can discuss educational problems in the pandemic era, how their methods are, study, and others. And then, good research problems can be found in our educational setting, such as first, the disruption caused by at-risk students in classroom, second, an increase in influence on college campuses, and the last, the lack of parental involvement in school for students with challenging behaviors. These problems concern personnel in our schools, classroom, and college campuses. You can find problems in the introduction to a study. They are included in a passage called the statement of the problem section. Okay, next is research problem differ from other part of research. The research problem is distinct from the topic of the study, the purpose or intent of the study, and specific research question. It means the research problem needs to stand on its own and be recognized as a distinct step because it represents the problem addressed in the study. In the brief definition that follows, consider the differences among these parts of research. First, a research topic is the broad subject matter addressed by the study. For example, Maria seeks to study with composition by students in school. Second, a research problem is a general educational issue, concern, or controversy addressed in research that narrow the topic. The problem Maria addresses is the escalating violence in school due, in a part, to students possessing weapons. Third, a purpose in the major intent or objective of the study used to address the problem. Maria might state the purpose of her study as follows. Maria might state the purpose of her study as follows. The purpose of study will be to identify factors that influence the extent to which students carry weapons in high school. Next, research questions narrow the purpose into specific questions that the researcher would like answered or addressed in the study. Maria might ask, do peers influence students to carry weapons? In this discussion, it is explained that the research problem is more complete and detailed, and the components discussed is more detailed from A to Z, so that you can find a solution. Okay, next, should the problem be researched? A positive answer to this question lies in whether your study will contribute to knowledge and practice. One important reason for engaging in research is to add to existing information and to inform of educational practice. Research adds to knowledge. Now, Let's examine these ways in more detail as you think about the research problem in one of your studies. There are 5 ways to assess whether you should research a problem. First, study the problem. If your study will fill a gap or void in the existing literature. Second, study the problem if your study replicates a past study but examines different participants and different research sites. Third, study the problem if your study extends past research or examines the topic more thoroughly. Fourth, study the problem if your study gives voice to people silenced, not heard, or rejected in society. And the last, study the problem if your study informs practice. That's all explanation from me. For the next material, will be explained by Farra Amartya.
Here I want to explain about how does the research problem differ in quantitative and qualitative research. Once you have identified a research problem, you should also consider whether it fits better with a quantitative or qualitative approach. Since the two approaches differ in their basic characteristics, there must be a match between your problem and the approach you are using. Explaining or predicting the relationship between variables is an important characteristic of quantitative research, and exploring problems is a characteristic of qualitative research. Tend to use quantitative research if your research problem requires to measure variables, assess the impact of these variables on an outcome, test theories or a broad explanation, and apply results to a large number of people. And tend to use qualitative research if your research problem requires to learn about the views of individuals, assess a process over time, and generate theories based on a participant perspective, and obtain detailed information. And the next is, how do you write a statement of the problem section? After you have identified your research problem, determine that it can and should be researched, and specified either the quantitative or qualitative approach. It is time to begin writing about the problem in a statement of the problem section that introduces your research study. The statement of the problem section includes the actual research problem as well as 4 other aspects. The first is the topic. The opening sentence of the problem statement section should encourage the reader to continue reading, generate interest in the research, and provide an initial frame of reference for understanding the entire research topic. This way, you take your readers to the workspace slowly and encourage them to read beyond the first page. For the example, the topic of education is a broad subject that the researcher intends to cover in a study and which creates initial interest for the reader. The researcher states the topic in the title and introduces it in the first sentence. And note that the author makes it easy to study with a general ideas that most readers can understand. Assume that the writer begins a topic discussion with a comment about the first sentence. We call this narrative hook. This serves an important role of attracting reader to a study. A good narrative hook has the following characteristic. It causes the reader to pay attention, elicits emotional or attitudinal responses, triggers interest, and encourages the reader to continue reading. The second is the research problem. After introducing the topic in the opening discussion, then narrow it down to a specific problem or research issue. The author can present it as one sentence or several short sentences. What types of research problem are you studying? The readers only need to be aware of the problem or concern leading to your study needs. The third is justification of the importance of the problem. Justifying a research problem means giving a reason for the importance of studying the problem or concern. This justification appears in several paragraphs in the introduction, where you provide evidence to document the need to study the problem, in a few paragraphs in the introduction, where you provide evidence to document need to study the problem. You can justify the importance of your problem by citing evidence from research and the other aspects as reported in the literature, experience that others have at work, and the last is personal experience. This justification is drawn from a variety of sources, is used in a variety of approaches, and usually finds expression in specific research design such as experiment, action research, or narrative research. The next is deficiencies in what we know. Lack of evidence means that the researcher's past literature or practical experience does not adequately address the research problem. When you summarize the deficiencies, identify 2 or 3 reasons why existing research and practice is lacking in addressing the research problem, and state these reasons at the end of the research introduction. And the last is audience. The audience in the problem statement section needs to be identified. It consists of individuals and groups who will read and potentially benefit from the information provided in your research study. Like a narrative hook, information continues to draw the reader into the research and personalize the research so that the reader can see that the research has the potential to provide meaningful information. When the researchers include the comment about the importance of the study to audience, they also remind themselves of the need to report the useful results. And the next material will be explained by Ummu Chariska.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will explain the strategy for writing the statement of the problem section at template. One strategy you can use as you write your statement the problem section to visualize this section as 5 paragraphs, with each paragraph addressing one of the 5 aspects of the section. Text section in order beginning with first, the topic, subject area, the opening sentence of a statement of the problem. Section need to encourage readers to continue reading to generate interest in the study and to provide an initial frame or reference for understanding the entire research topic. The key idea is that a study begins with an introduction to a topic that the reader can easily understand and a first sentence that creates reader interest. Second, the research problem. That is, after starting the topic in the opening discussion, then narrow the topic to a specific research problem or issue. Recall that research problem is an educational issue, concern, or controversy that the researchers investigates. In other research study, the problem will be based on a need for further research. In some research, we can take both a practical and a research-based approach to the problem and state both types of problem. The point to state is clearly a sentence or two in the statement of the problem section. The reader simply needs to know the issue or concern that leads a need for your study. Third, the justification, the process or justifying a research problem and how we do justify to the need to study this problem. One, personal experience used in qualitative research such as narrative research. Two, experience in the workplace used in both quantitative and qualitative research such as action research. 3. Suggestion made by other research used in both quantitative and qualitative research such as experiments, surveys, correlation study, grounded theory studies. And for the deficiencies, evidence that is missing in the statement of the problem section, you next need to summarize how our present state of knowledge both from research and for practice is deficient. Although deficiency in the literature might be part of the justification for a research problem, it is useful to enumerate on several deficiencies in the existing literature or practice. And the last, the audience in a statement of the problem section need to be identified. It consists of individuals and groups who will read and potentially benefit from the information provided in research study. This audience will vary depending on the nature of study, but several often considered educators include researchers, practitioners, policymakers, and individuals participating in the studies. Next, conclusion, a research problem is an educational issue, concern or controversy that the investigator presents and justifies in a research study. In a research report, the investigator introduces this problem in the opening paragraph of a study in a section called the statement of the problem.
And the last is conclusion. The conclusion is a research problem is an educational issue, concern, or controversy that the investigator presents and justifies in the research study. In a research report, the investigator introduces this problem in the opening of the paragraph of a study in a selection called the statement of the problem. And that's all from us. And if you have a question, you can ask us. And thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.